Today's deadly attack on the U.S. consulate in Libya came amid regional furor over a film mocking Islam and the Prophet Muhammad. Our own Brian Todd has been looking into this and who's behind this film. What are you finding out, Brian?
Well, Wolf, at this point, it's not clear if the killing of the U.S. ambassador is directly tied to this controversial movie, but a Libyan government official says the protests in Benghazi were at least partially connected to the film. U.S. sources are telling CNN the people who attacked the ambassador used the protest outside the consulate as a diversion. Now, CNN has just received a statement from some of the people involved in this movie. The statement reads as such, quote, "The entire cast and crew are extremely upset and feel taken advantage of by the producer. We are 100% not behind this film, and we're grossly misled about its intent and purpose. We are shocked by the drastic rewrites of the script and lies that were told to all involved. We are deeply saddened by the tragedies that have occurred." That from the cast and crew of this movie. We also spoke with a man who identifies himself as a consultant on the film. The film tied to the violence is called Innocence of Muslims, an amateurish, crude production depicting the Prophet Muhammad as a womanizing, violence-provoking thug where portions of dialogue are poorly dubbed in. CNN is not airing any part of it. According to reports published in the Wall Street Journal and the Associated Press, the filmmaker is a real estate developer from California named Sam Basile. A man identifying himself as Basile told the Wall Street Journal Islam is a cancer. We couldn't find information about him in checking databases for Hollywood productions or real estate records, raising questions about whether the name Sam Basile is a pseudonym. We spoke to Steve Klein, who says he consulted with Basile on the film. I asked him about Basile's reaction to the violence in Libya and Egypt.
He's very depressed. He's upset. I talked to him this morning, and he said that he was very concerned for what happened to the ambassador.
Klein says Basile is worried about his own safety and is in hiding. Through Klein, we tried to get Basile to speak to us and were told he would not. Klein says he hasn't known Basile for very long. He says Basile told him the film cost about $5 million to make, with at least 50 people in the cast and crew. Did you or Mr. Basile have any sense that this film would cause the fallout that it apparently has?
Absolutely not. When I spoke to him, we knew that it was going to cause some friction if anybody paid attention to it. And when we first showed it, nobody paid any attention to it. So I pretty much forgot about it after I went to Hollywood and saw that nobody went to it.
But if you knew it would cause friction, could you not, I guess, presuppose that it might cause violence in the Middle East? I mean, these things get on the internet and they just go viral.
Well, that's the interesting point. For example, when you started the interview, you asked me if I was afraid to show my face here or to speak about this. And so my question is, in America, why should I be afraid?
Klein says the film merely shows what he calls the facts, evidence, and proof about radical Islam. Klein says he's not anti-Muslim. Do you and Mr. Basile feel that you have any blood on your hands as a result of the violence?
That's a very good question. Under the rules of engagement in Vietnam, when I killed the North Vietnamese army in the Viet Cong, I go to bed every night with no blood on my hand. It does not bother me a bit. In this case with the ambassador, I did not kill these people. It is they who pulled the trigger. It is they who murdered the ambassador.
Now, on that Vietnam reference, Klein says he is a Vietnam veteran, a former Marine who served in combat there. He says his own son was wounded by a suicide bomber in Iraq while he was working with the U.S. Army on a civil program there, Wolf.
I understand CNN also corresponding right now with one of the actresses in this so-called film?
That's right. My colleague Miguel Marquez has spoken with her. We cannot identify her by name or say where we spoke with her, but she essentially to him has reiterated what we saw just a moment ago in that statement from the cast and crew of this movie. She said she did not know that the movie was about the Prophet Muhammad, says there was no Muhammad character in the script, and said she was shocked by the film that's been made.